Hey there, this is Domani Home Design, Design Assistant method or training. Sorry, we're going to be training on our particular methods and standards that we have set up and have been implementing for um, ever since basically Domani Home Design has been around. So the first thing I want to start off with is just the basic standards that we design to. Just a little quick background. I worked for a custom home builder um, several years ago, and that was super fun. And we got to, like it was just like a blank check almost, blank canvas. We could do whatever we wanted. And then that same company decided to start a sister company that was more production builds. And so they asked us, the design team, to come up with a portfolio of plans that were value engineered and that could easily be built time and time again. And with that, I learned a lot of things, and we designed to very, some pretty strict design guidelines as far as, we had to use one of a handful of kitchen layouts and bathroom layouts, and only you could pick from windows from a certain, from a list of windows that they had curated, and had certain sizes of different things. And so there are some of those tricks and some of those ideals that I adhere to, and some of that being my dog is whining because she wants to play. There are some of those things that I still do adhere to, as far as like designing to even 2-foot increments wherever possible to eliminate or greatly reduce the amount of waste in the building materials. I do believe strongly in that. I do try to take into consideration how many foundation corners there are, and use trusses as much as possible so that we don't have a lot of labor involved with the whole build out. But there are some things that I have adopted as our own standards, even though they are more than what meets the minimum code requirement, and definitely more than what meets, like the minimum on a value engineered home. And they are, number one, 4-foot wide stairs and hallways everywhere possible. So that's just kind of a standard that I let my clients know right at the beginning that that's a standard that I design to. And part of the reason why is it's a little bit more roomy. It's easier to move furniture, down, whatever. But the main reason for it is because I'm a huge believer in having 3-foot wide doorways wherever possible. So like all the doors in the house will be 3 feet wide, except closets and bathrooms. Obviously that's a little bit more than is needed, but I do try to keep those at a minimum of 2'6" if we can. But like laundry rooms and doorways into bedrooms and stuff, 3 feet wide for sure, for 4 feet wide on stairs and hallways. And I tell my clients, it's not, like a lot of people are like, oh yeah, that's great. Oh, that's awesome because that'll be easy for moving furniture. And I'm like, yeah, it's totally awesome for moving furniture, but it's especially awesome so you don't have the knuckle busters when you're taking your laundry basket through a doorway or something, or you're, getting out that Christmas decor tote and you have to, take it through a doorway or down a hallway. You're not tripping over things, you're not knocking stuff off the walls, you're not banging your knuckles on the door jambs, that sort of thing. So those are the two, my two top priorities for sure. And I tell people that a lot of times, just like those extra 6 inches or whatever that we might need for a set of stairs or the hallway or whatever, can almost always be taken out of like the great room or the kitchen or whatever, and hardly even be missed in those spaces, but they'll be immensely noticed in the stairs and hallways. So that's number one. Number two, and then number three is I always design the garage doors to be 8 feet tall. Whether it's a single door or a double garage door, they are at minimum 8 feet tall. If they have boats or tall vehicles or RVs, then we discuss going even taller with the individual client at that point. The standard width of a double garage door, I always start at a minimum of 18 feet and a minimum of 9 feet for a single door. just so that it's easier to pull the cars in. You don't have to worry about banging your mirrors or parking too close to a wall or to another car or anything like that. Let's see. So number 4 is with that, I also like to have, so if we have an 18-foot wide, say double garage door, I like to have a minimum of 3 feet of framing on either side of the door so that we don't have to push them into an engineered shear wall panel. That can be a little bit more expensive. Plus everybody likes that little bit of extra room. So that puts the garage sizes at no less than 24 feet wide. And then I like to do no less than 24 feet deep because here in our region, which is where the majority of the work is being done, most people have shelving in their garage for some extra storage. And so that would take out some of that depth. And that would leave them only at 22 feet. A lot of people around here also like to drive trucks, and trucks will barely fit in that 22-foot depth. So it makes it so that the vehicles that they're already driving or that they hope to drive one day will fit in their garage. And that's part of the intake form. We ask them what kind of vehicles they drive so that we can design the garage to meet their vehicle needs. But I always say usually garages, the bigger is better here when it comes to garages. I haven't had anybody say to me, oh man, that garage is way too big. A lot of people actually, especially the clients that I end up with, they like to have plenty of room in the garage so that they're not worried about hitting the stairs going into the house, or the car door opening and hitting the car next to them, or hitting the wall or whatever. They want to be able to walk around their cars with the garage doors closed. Those types of things are usually critical design factors when it comes to garage sizes. And a lot of people, for number 5, don't love corner kitchen cabinets. I'm not really sure why. I personally think corner kitchen cabinets are highly useful, and I haven't ever had a Lazy Susan I didn't like. But I think aesthetically, it does look nicer to have a kitchen designed with no corner cabinets at all designed into it. It can get a little bit tricky to design to that ideal, but usually where there's a will, there's a way. So we always try to design the kitchens with no corner cabinets. And in the kitchens, the islands almost, I honestly can't even think of a home design that I've done that didn't have a kitchen island. And I always give people as big a kitchen island as possible. And we try to keep that though, however, like within the parameters of a single slab of granite or quartz or whatever that they're going to pick, which, the maximum size on that is anywhere between 7'6" and 8 feet. And the maximum width is about 60 to 66 inches. So the kitchen islands are usually kept at around 5 feet by 8 feet, or 5'6" by 7'6", like 8 feet, whatever, somewhere in that range. And so what happens is that there's base cabinets on the front side, and then we'll do some base cabinets on the back side. It might run the whole length. It might be the full 2 feet deep, just depending on how they want that island to be. If they have a really extra deep overhang, we make sure we add posts for the extra structural support that needs for the weight of the countertop. That is the majority of our basic standards that are upgraded from what I would say the minimum code requires. We would look at some other upgraded options when we start talking about the electrical. I always add more outlets these days than less, more than the code minimum for sure, just because we now have so many gadgets and devices and things in our home that require outlets and charging and plugins and stuff. So we always do extra outlets in the garage. The design standard for the production homes was 1 outlet in the garage. We'll try to do at least 1 per wall. Same thing in the laundry rooms. We try to make sure that there's enough outlets to plug in an ironing board or to do some sort of like home maintenance project or charge a thing. in the laundry room. Um, I will add more of those things as I think of them, but those are the basic standards that I can think of right now. Um, as far as other methods, I call these just kind of like my little client lectures, mini lectures that I always seem to be having with my clients throughout the design process. So I like for you to be aware of them as well. And I'll see if I can get through them a little bit faster. Number one is the 90-10 design rule. And I always tell my clients, like, the goal is to design this home for the percentage of use that it gets 90% of the time. So like 90% of the time, it will just be, husband and wife in the home, and 10% of the time they'll have guests. Their kids will come visit, or they'll have weekend guests or whatever. And so we just want to make it comfortable for that 90% usage and accommodate the 10% without designing to the 10%. So they don't have like a giant dining room because they're always hosting parties, or they think that they're going to have Thanksgiving dinner every year at their house and that's it. So design to the 90-10 rule. I like to tell clients to think of the traffic patterns in their homes as freeways, highways, and country roads. So the freeways are the areas that get the most traffic, the most foot traffic, people in and out, kitchens, entryways, through great rooms, mud rooms, that sort of thing usually gets a really high amount of traffic. So that would be our freeways. Highways would be like a basement hallway where, you've got people coming and going, you might pass somebody along the way or whatever. And then a country road would be like inside of a bedroom, getting to a closet, or within a dead end room that you only can go here. You're not traveling through it to get to another destination. And so we accommodate that traffic load with adequate hallways, whether they're actual physical enclosed hallways or if they are invisible hallways. I like to call them invisible hallways, where it's just like, okay, we know that there's going to be traffic that's going to cut through this mudroom, for example, or even though it's a room that has a function and a purpose, there's that invisible hallway that goes through it. Square footage proportions. Whenever the square footage of the home goes up, I like to make sure that we increase things proportionally with that. So we increase the traffic areas like we just talked about. We maybe bump up the width of the stairs. We make the fascias bigger. We steepen the roof pitches. We raise the ceiling heights. We enlarge the fireplace. We enlarge the island. We do things like that. So it's proportionate so that you don't have like a 3,000 square foot main home with a 10 by 10 bedroom on the main floor. It just doesn't make sense that way. That 10 by 10 bedroom isn't proportionate to the overall square footage and design style of that 3,000 square foot home. So we just want to make sure that everything's proportionate, both size wise and design aesthetic wise. Number four, the fourth thing I talk to my clients about is about repurposing spaces. A lot of times I'll have clients come to me and they'll say, oh yeah, we want a library and a home office, and we need a nursery on the main floor that's near the master bedroom on the main floor, a mudroom, a laundry room, walk-in pantry, homework station, blah, blah, blah. All these things because they're right in the thick of, like a really intense, stage of their life or whatever, where they've got all these needs and all these room intentions and room uses. And I like to tell them, let's think about how we can repurpose the space. We can use this space now for the nursery. And then when we've outgrown the need for a nursery, we're going to convert that space to the home library that you really want to have. But the library isn't a high priority necessarily. We can get by without it for a couple of years while we're in the nursery phase. And we're going to repurpose that space so that the design doesn't get away from them and the home doesn't get away from them, because nobody has an unlimited budget. Everybody has some sort of budget that they need to work around. Okay, number 5, have enough ocean space. So this goes back to the topic of the kitchen island. My brother said once, we have a really great island, but we don't have enough ocean space around it. And it made perfect sense because we were, gathered together and we were kind of bumping into each other. around as we, traveled around the island. And so we just need to make sure that there's enough ocean space around the island. Um, we need to make sure that the clients are always looking for the common denominator in their inspiration photos. And so just the themes that keep popping up in the things that the pictures that they're liking. All right, number 7, because the recurring theme was number 6. Number 7, every room needs to have a focal point, and particularly in the great room, oftentimes, whenever people try to put a corner fireplace in a great room, it makes it so that there is no focal point. It's like too many things. The eye is bouncing around. You've got these awesome windows. Then you have a corner fireplace. Then you have like the TV center or whatever on this wall. And it gets really confusing for people, and it just feels super busy. In a bedroom, it's usually the bedroom wall, or sorry, the wall that the bed is on. So as you open the door coming into the bedroom, boom, the first thing you see is that bed. And it's done up nicely, bed with nightstands, you've got this whole grouping. So every room needs to have a focal point. A lot of times the focal point in the kitchen is the awesome range and hood, with the island opposite it. So take that into consideration. We don't want our eyes to be bouncing around too much. Number 8, bedroom closets should be designed close to the bedroom door. We don't want to go tripping past too much furniture and like zigzagging around too much of the bedroom furniture to get to the closet. We'd like to have our foot traffic be kind of all contained from coming into the bedroom to going to the closet. It's somewhat contained in this tight little spot. It makes it so that the bedroom can be a lot more functional, and there's better aesthetics to it. I always preach to my clients, buy your property before you design the home. So that's mini lecture number 9, and that one should actually be number 1. But anyway, it's the order that I thought of it. So they have to have the land. I will not design a plan if they don't have the land purchased and locked in, because we design the homes to fit the property and not to just design a home that then they have to adjust on the fly when they're building it on that land. Number 10 is, I talk to my clients about having too many appliances and not enough wall space. Most people want like big windows and they want really open concept. And so they end up with not a ton of wall space in their kitchens. And they definitely usually don't have enough wall space to accommodate a ton of appliances. And what I mean by a lot of appliances is they have a cooktop, and then they have to have a double oven or a wall oven and a microwave combo. But this is where it gets really bad. So they have a cooktop, they have a double oven, they need to have a place for a microwave and the dishwasher. And sometimes they'll have 2 dishwashers at this point, at this level of design. And then often these same people who are doing all these high-end appliances will have a standalone refrigerator and a standalone freezer. And so now we've got, we need to have wall space for the freezer, the fridge, the wall ovens, the cooktop, and it becomes, and then where's the microwave? And a lot of times the microwave kind of gets forgotten. And so it gets really, really valuable real estate on the walls. So I actually encourage my clients to consider more of the high-end ranges so that they don't have to, and a lot of, like I'd rather do a 4-foot range that has double ovens in it than dedicate a lot of wall space to a cooktop and then double ovens, and then figure out where the microwave is going to go on top of that. With the new butler pantries that are being designed, a lot of people are pushing some of those appliances, especially like double ovens and especially microwaves. Sometimes they even push the refrigerators into those butler pantries so that the kitchen can stay a little bit more clean and uncluttered. And then it's super important always to know what type of vent hood and will it need ventilation up through an attic space or the second floor for as part of the appliances. Number 11, I like to encourage people to not do a walk-in shower. A lot of times, interestingly enough, even though they might be designing a really big home, they are still kind of like strapped for square footage and squeezing every last inch out of the design. So a walk-in shower just actually takes up more square footage and actually doesn't increase the usable space in the shower. So you get this big tiled area for the shower, but you have to walk in, so that part can't get wet because they don't want any sort of door. So they want that to be like the dry part of the shower, and then they go into the wet part of the shower. And it's a lot of square footage for not a lot of shower space. All right, number 12, mechanical room considerations. That will be a whole different thing, but there's a whole list of things to consider when designing the mechanical room. Orientation of the appliances, clearances, flue chases, horizontal trunk lines, I think I said orientation of the equipment. Avoiding stairs, and talking to the clients about like how there might or might not be drop downs for the trunk lines. And that's just a few to start with. Number 13 is everyone has a budget. It doesn't matter if it's 2 million or 200,000, everyone has a budget, and they're always designing up to and over their budget. And so I really strongly encourage the clients to share their budget with me. And I do it with the caveat and the disclaimer that while I don't get into the numbers every day, and I am not familiar with the exact details of the numbers, I do have a gut feeling, and I have been getting feedback fairly regularly from other builders and previous clients about what things are coming in at. So I've got a good read on the industry, and I can give them a little bit of a gut check as far as whether they're designing within their budget or not. The big goal is to not design them outside of their budget so that they end up not being able to build the house. Our goal is for them to be able to build the house, and to not have to come back to us or anybody else for that matter for a redesign or another round of edits. So that's our main goal. And of course the clients want that to be their goal as well. Number 14, I talk to clients about how built-ins aren't always the best thing to add in the house. I will do built-ins where it makes the best sense, but sometimes I try to talk clients into just utilizing a good furniture arrangement instead of built-ins, because built-ins are so permanent. A lot of times people, and they just add more expense to the home that isn't always necessary, and it really locks people into one particular design that they might not want to be married to for a long-term commitment. Okay, so number 15, I believe is what we are on, is when my clients are facing the decisions deciding whether to go with a feature or square footage or whatever, like they sometimes have to reassess their priorities. They have to go back to their priorities assessment tool and remember what it is. Oh yeah, we really cared about the view here, and so we're gonna lean into the view and not worry so much about covering the deck, for example, because we care more about the view. So that would have been view over function. But I also want them to choose now. So make decisions based on things that can be done now that are much more difficult to do later, or to add later. So like, for example, easier now to get the right mechanical equipment and to do the ceiling height that they want than it is to get, the granite countertops or to add the fireplace. Even a fireplace can be added if we've designed it into the space and accounted for how it will be vented and stuff. Some of those things can be added later. Now, I do have builders who say, yeah, but people won't do those things later. And that might be true, but are they in the house? Were they able to build the home? And when they just have to make some hard decisions, that's the best tool that I can give people to help them make those hard decisions. All right, number 16, a little bit of planning now saves a lot of headaches and most likely time and money in the future. So this goes back to our core values where we talked about designing with the end in mind. So I'll encourage people to spend money now on hiring a topographical surveyor to do that topo for their property. I'll encourage them to hire a landscape architect. And some people get a little sticker shock because they thought they were just hiring a designer to design a custom floor plan for them. And then I'm telling them, you got to hire a surveyor and you need to hire a landscape architect. And they're like, whoa, things just doubled all of a sudden. And I tell them that by doing those things up front, they can easily recoup those costs at the end by being well prepared and having the home designed right for the property and for the overall goals in mind. So those are some of my top little mini lectures that I like to have with my clients. They almost always come up. I don't just spout these at the beginning of the project with the clients and expect them to remember them. Those are the things that I say to people as the topics come up. So keep them handy, maybe, write them down, print them off, memorize them. Those are the things that we will continually talk about with our clients on a regular basis, and they come up all the time. So you will not be, you won't be missing out on too much if you don't have any conversations around that. Hopefully, I've only had one client who's been able to trump me on these design lectures, and she's already thinking of those things before I have to tell her, which is fantastic. Most people aren't. So that's what they're here working with us for, is for us to guide them in the right way.